Welcome back to Mud and Rust Workshop. Today we're going to be installing a Hydra chip on our 2003 F350 tow vehicle. Stay tuned, we're going to get started here in just a minute. So let's take a look in the package and see what's included with our Hydra chip. Of course, you get some installation instructions. Be a brass brush, which we'll use for the installation. We'll get the controller where you're able to select which option you want to use. Small piece of a Scotch-Brite pad. Some additional instructions. And of course, we have our chip here. And of course, all of our cables for doing tuning and connecting up the chip, and a couple of wire ties there as well. You can see here the contents of the package, all from Power Hungry Performance. Again, we ordered ours directly off Amazon from them, preloaded with some programs already on the controller. But you'll see we have the chip here, some instructions, a couple of installation tools here, a wood-handled brass brush, a small piece of Scotch-Brite, the controller itself, a couple of cables, and then some additional installation instructions. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the PCM connector's right here in the engine compartment. It's behind this red wire. It's on the back wall. It's about 6 inches long or so. You kind of can see it if you see all the colored wires right along through here. It's actually behind it, plugged into the firewall. So we'll take a 10mm socket. See if we can get it. You can kind of see it down there on the wall. There's the connector, kind of right there against that back wall, and down in the middle. A little difficult to see here, but there is a gold 10mm socket there. I'm going to take that socket and put it on there, pull it out, and pull that connector off. Alright, we can see a little bit better now. This is our connector. You can see the bolt sticking out right there. It's in the center. But we've got it out. We're going to move into the cab now. Alright, the next part of our process involves taking the PCM off of the firewall. It's located just behind the parking brake. There are two bolts that are holding against the side of the kick plate right there. It's going to take a 7mm and also an extension to get out far enough to be able to use your ratchet. So two bolts. It's pretty simple. Again, located right here on the left kick plate, driver's side, right behind the emergency brake. Alright, trying my best to show you guys. You can see the PCM right there, and we can see one of the bolts right here. That is a 7mm. You'll need an extension to get out a little bit out into the opening by the brake pedal to be able to move it off. One here, and there's one you can't see up a little bit higher. But next step would be take both of those bolts out. Alright, we've got our PCM out. I wanted to show you guys a couple things that are a little bit tricky in getting it out. You'll have these two cables connected to the side of it. This one you can kind of work out just by wiggling it back and forth a little bit. This one has a clip around it that stays on the PCM. We'll look at it in just a second, but you can see the hole we generated. To get the PCM out, you kind of got to pick up on the back and work it out. It fits down in this bracket, down in that hole, so you won't work it out. We'll look at it offline here in just a second, but I wanted to show you those two cables. Those two cables do have to come off to be able to get your PCM out. Alright, so our PCM's out of the truck. This is what it looks like when it comes out. Here's the connector that we unhooked underneath the cab, and here's that little bracket that holds that cable on. You can see you can just kind of move that part right there and get it to unclip, pull that cable off. There's the hole where the other cable went, which you kind of work out of. But we'll get started on the PCM. This is what really is controlling everything. Let's get started. Now the next thing we're going to do is remove these 6 screws out of the back of the case of the PCM. It takes a 7/30 seconds. Make sure you got one of these before you go to do this. It's not something that shows up in all of your regular hand tool sets. So make sure you do have a 7/32 socket, wrench, something to be able to get these out. Alright, now that we got the cover off, you can see kind of where the new chip's going to install. It's going to install right there on the board on those connectors. There is a little plastic case that you remove. The reason we take this off is so you can have access to both sides of it and get it really clean before you make the actual connection. So we'll pop these two little covers off, pull this out next, and pull this off and get ready to install our chip. Now we're at one of, if not the most critical step in the whole process, is to make sure that we get this coating off of these connectors right here on the board. We got to get it off so that we can make connection with our new chip. This is where that included brass brush and piece of Scotch-Brite come in. You can also use nail polish remover to help clean the contacts, help clean it up and help remove that stuff. But again, this is one of the most critical steps. We want to make sure we get all of this coating off of here so we can make a good contact with our new chip. Alright, one thing to note when cleaning these things, you're going to have a clear coating of silicone on the connections. You can kind of see it there a little bit. You can see it on my finger. You can take the wooden part of the handle of the brush, scrape that off initially, then come back with the bristles and clean that up. Make for a much better connection and make it a lot quicker on you doing your installation. Alright, you can see we've installed our tuning cable as well as our controller cable, both on the card, getting ready to slide them on. One last bit, one of the benefits of the kit here is it does come with a small little square to go here and on the back of the card of a Velcro with an adhesive backing to basically hold it in place and hold it stabilized while it's installed in the PCM. Just one of the little things that makes this installation a little bit easier. So you want to make sure you get that on the back, get it on the back of the card, get it ready to go in there and secure that new chip. Alright, so here we are, our new controller installed. Have both of our cables for our tuning to hook up to the laptop, as well as the ribbon cable that goes back to the selector switch to be able to pick our different tunes. You can see our new chips installed in there and slid on. We should be ready to reassemble everything, get everything connected back up, and get ready to try it. Now, to save yourself some headache, if you didn't pay attention earlier, remember how we took this out earlier. This was on the bottom. All will connect back up. You want to make sure you put your PCM back the way that it came out so that these slots line up with your connector under the hood. So this is actually the way it's going to go. You'll have the X, it needs to go on the bottom, slide back in, and it'll go back in the truck. One other thing to note, you will have these cables will bend around this. You can cut it out if you choose to. A lot of folks just bend them and bend them back. Should work fine either way, but it is something just to watch out for. Alright, so now we're going to go through one of the more important parts of installing the Hydra, and that's picking and choosing which programs you want to run. Power Hungry Performance has a ton of standard programs you can use. You do have to have, from that cover we had earlier, 4-digit code. It's going to give you the PCM that you're running and make sure you select the right options as far as standard tunes to put inside your PCM. Once you've got that code and got your new what they call your hex code to go in there, you're going to go through and tune it. Check out our next video to go through which options we select and how we go about tuning our new controller.